Hey kid, what the heck is going on? My face is melting. You ready to talk some movies, Brennan?
Yeah, okay.
Well, let's go. Corrupted youth! Corrupted youth! Corrupted youth! Corrupted youth! Hi, welcome to the Corrupted Youth Podcast. I'm a Dan.
And I'm a Brennan.
We're a father and son duo that explores the latest blockbusters, classic genre films, and the schlockiest of Golden Age VHS rental store flicks in spoiler-heavy fashion.
Yeah.
Show enough. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
We did that drive time that landed in the middle of October.
Yeah.
Kind of squealed up our schedule a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And now we're recording this on the last possible day. So...
Yeah, that's okay. We were busy. We actually were busy posing Transformers the other day, and we ran out of time.
Yeah.
Because scheduling conflicts galore. But we're finally here. We're doing it. It's my birthday month of November.
It's barely.
Just barely. But we did watch one of my favorite recent flicks, Mandy. This is the first time viewing for Brennan.
Yes.
Clearly not me.
Yeah.
I probably watch this at least twice a year since it came out on video. The first time I watched it, I was like, I need to have Brennan watch this movie.
Yeah, thankfully you did too.
Yes, it took a little while. I mean, part of it is that there's just a couple bits in here, and they're pretty minor, but I was like, I don't know if I should really let like a 15-year-old watch this. I don't know, it felt just kind of uncomfortable. And now that you're 18, I just don't care.
You've had me watch debatably crazier things at younger ages, though.
That's true.
But I guess we'll get into it. The heavy use of like drugs and stuff.
Oh, that wasn't so much it.
Really?
No. No, it's just the TV in the background in the one scene that has like the weird porno clip on a loop.
That isn't terrible.
I know, and it's not even like that noticeable either.
No.
But that was the big hang up, I guess. That's when your mom would have walked into the room.
Yeah, Lord knows.
It's never a good time.
Never.
Never a good time. She was not around when we watched this, so
yeah.
We were in the clear. It felt very comfortable watching it, too. I will say that. But yeah, let's get to the IMDb info. Because IMDb.
You are?
I am. According to IMDb, Mandy is described as the enchanted lives of a couple in a secluded forest are brutally shattered by a nightmarish hippie cult and their demon biker henchmen, propelling a man into a spiraling, surreal rampage of vengeance. That's pretty fair.
Yeah.
The director is Panos Cosmatos, who is also the director of Beyond the Black Rainbow, another very surreal, bizarre adventure. I saw that before this, and after watching that, and I heard that he was coming out with another one, I said, I must watch. Especially knowing Nic Cage is going to be in it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what is he going to do with Nic Cage?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Panos' father is actually a well-known director, George P. Cosmatos. And he did like, let's see here, Rainbow First Blood Part 2.
Never seen it.
Cobra.
Never seen it.
Leviathan.
Never seen it.
Tombstone.
Never seen it.
Given the very director-heavy nature of Panos' films, it doesn't seem that, like, I mean, knowing he has a director father,
yeah,
it's kind of like he would have grown up on that kind of stuff. And I think, was his mom an artist? I don't recall off the top of my head. But yeah.
But he was raised in an environment suited very well for this.
And he also really struggled with like the passing of his father, and I believe his mother as well. And he had a lot of hard times, and really did a lot of drug abuse and stuff like that.
Mm.
So probably where he gets a lot of his influence from.
I can see that now, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess these are also his way of like working through his own grief, where he can express it in crazy forms.
Oh, very crazy. Yeah.
Delightfully so. Mandy stars Nic Cage, Andrea Riseborough, Linus Roach, Ned Dennehy. We're going to throw in Richard Brake, and of course, special appearance by Bill Duke. But we'll get to him. Ooh, we also have a trailer. It's kind of noisy, but it's still pretty cool. You ready to listen to that trailer, Brennan?
Definitely.
Let's go!
Under the crimson, primordial sky, the wretched warlock reached into the dark embrace. His fist closed around the serpent's eye. Strange and eternal.
I need you to get me that girl I saw. Do you know what to do? You're a special one, Mandy. I, too, am a special one. Let us be so very special together.
So what you gonna do with that thing?
I'm going hunting.
So what you hunting?
It's crazy evil. You think you're so in love? I'll show you love. Oh man, they wronged you. You exude the cosmic darkness.
It glowed from within, strange and eternal.
Wow. That trailer sure was noisy.
Sure was. It was also so exciting. My nipples got so hard, my shirt just shredded and fell off my
It was
body.
kind of scary.
It was. And it's also really gross.
Yeah.
All right, since it's my month, I'll go through this rundown. And this is kind of nice.
Good luck.
No, it's
It's actually pretty straightforward.
It's pretty simple, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, for a movie that's 2 hours and 1 minute,
It could be 1 hour
it could easily be 1
if
hour.
it lost all of its artistic touch.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I know there's people who would probably say, I would rather just watch it in 1 hour. I would not. I could probably use an extra 15 minutes. But that's just me. No, this is nice because it is broken down into 3 chapters, which get their own title card, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all different too.
Yeah.
The first one doesn't come up right away, but it is the Shadow Mountains, and it says 1983 AD.
I like how it throws in AD too.
Yes.
Like that's needed information.
Yes. We get introduced to Red, played by Nic Cage, and Mandy. And it's this whole first chapter is just establishing them with not a whole lot of dialogue explaining, like, this is what I do, this is who I am. It's just a lot of it is shown.
Yeah.
Like, we know Red's a lumberjack. We see him turn down a beer.
Mm-hmm. So he clearly doesn't like alcohol and
Yes.
most likely drugs for that reason.
Yes. He's like, you can kind of, like, the movie helps it out later, but you definitely get the take that he might be a recovering alcoholic.
Yeah.
Mandy, super into fantasy, sci-fi novels, and art.
Super cool art too.
Really cool art.
Yeah.
They're just this happy couple.
They're such a cool,
They're so cool.
Yeah.
And you can tell that they're just super into each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels very pure.
It does. Yeah. They do a really good job setting up this relationship as being like really awesome and them clearly caring a lot for each other.
Yeah, and Mandy has a scar under her left eye. A pretty burly one too.
Mm-hmm.
And she also tells a story about her dad killing starlings with the neighborhood kids and how it was traumatizing for her. And I feel like there's a lot of trauma between these two.
Mm-hmm.
Personal, like they're just damaged people who have found each other.
Yeah.
And Mandy has a dream about a dead fawn out in the woods. And man, there's a lot of symbolism and stuff in this movie that I can recognize, but I'm not like, I'm never really one sometimes to go, oh, what does this really mean?
And then you start piecing it together. Yeah.
Like I kind of just get it and I just move on.
Mm-hmm.
I like the narrative.
Yeah.
There's also hints to like when they're laying in bed together and she's asking him about what his favorite planet is. And they have that discussion with their favorite planets. And there's just like this projection on mostly her and kind of him, and of like this weird purpley moving light, which is almost like their aura of their love. That's what I got out of it.
I can see that,
like
yeah.
it's just the warmth, and it's just to like look at them together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this movie is extremely purple,
Yeah.
blue and red,
Yeah.
but it does have like some very stark, grounded, just plain.
Mm-hmm.
No filters, no gradations.
Yeah. I also enjoy when they throw in colors outside the palette, like green. That really like throws everything off and really makes you wake up for a second.
Yeah, they did use a lot of use of color in this movie.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I mean, I don't know, like visually,
Yeah.
I think this is a really cool movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just for that alone, it's worth a watch. So this chapter ends with Mandy walking down the road. Like it's like her reading a book, and then it gets kind of distorted, and then it's her walking down the road, and it has like this weird just red filter on it. And that's where she gets passed by the van with what we learn is a cult.
Yeah.
And one of the guy in the passenger seat he looks all doped up, and he kind of looks up and notices her, and they make eye contact. And then we go into our next chapter, which is Children of the New Dawn, which is the cult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, oh man, these guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with them. But this is actually like a very good representation of cult mentality and cult leadership. Like he nails it.
Mm-hmm.
He really gets all of that down. And they're led by Jeremiah Swan. That's the guy who noticed Mandy. Yeah, so he's obsessing about Mandy, talking to this older woman her name is Mother Marlene. Like he just totally freaks out on her.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like kind of unsettling. The way he behaves is just off. And then he ends up calling in his right-hand man, Brother Swan, and tells him he has to get that girl. He's like, I have to have her. He hands Brother Swan the horn of Abraxas. And this is one of those scenes where you're talking about where the color changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like this like strobing green on the horn.
Yeah, which looks like a piece of volcanic rock.
Yeah.
And
cool.
Then he says like, okay, well you're gonna have to use this, but we're also gonna have to give up a blood sacrifice.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, let's just give him the dumb fat kid. And that kid looks like the kid from Bad Santa. I don't know if you've ever watched that.
Mm-mm.
He does. It's not the kid from Bad Santa, but he looks like the kid from Bad Santa. Yeah, so Brother Swan takes that kid and the Goonie mullet kid out to the woods.
I hate Goonie mullet kid.
Oh, God. He looks like a kid I went to school with, and I think every school had a kid that looked like that back in my day.
And now, too.
Yeah, I guess mullets are making a comeback. Hey, dongles, I know you might think it might be funny and ironic. Don't get a mullet. Just don't.
You'll look back on it like 5 years later, and you'll be like, wow.
Yeah.
It just wasn't funny.
We're all just going to make fun of you.
Yeah.
Not that I support bullying, but
Yeah.
but man, if you put on a mullet, you're just asking for it. Anyway, they go out, they blow the horn of Abraxas. It sounds super weird
Mm-hmm.
and just echoes throughout the woods. And then they have to wait. And that's where the mullet kid's like just playing with the window, moving it up and down in this van. If you haven't noticed it before this, they're clearly messed up on something.
All the time.
Yes. So it's like very obvious at that point. Like nobody just putzes with a
Yeah.
car window like that. After a little bit, then come in the Black Skulls, who they called with the Horn of Abraxas. And these guys are just like straight up Cenobites on four-wheelers and motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that. It's very Hellraiser. And they're like super bizarre. Like
This is so weird.
Like just clad in like leather. You never really get a good look at them because everything's so dark. One guy's just covered in railroad spikes, big old nails just everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're all wrapped up and they're just weird. They're fun and creepy.
They don't speak English?
They do, but it's very hard to understand them.
Yeah.
It's very just gurgly. Kind of like that.
That's actually pretty good.
But in exchange for their help to get Mandy, they also get like this jar of goo. And the head of the Black Skulls just drinks it. And it's just like dripping down. It's like, what is going on here? More on that later, but
Yeah.
it's LSD.
Yeah.
This is a big batch of crazy LSD. He just chugs it. And
Uh-huh.
it's just dripping down. They all go out to Red and Mandy's place while they're sleeping and creep in the middle of the night. And this is like super weird too, because there's like weird blue strobe going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's making like this weird like electricity sound
Like a
every time it
crack
goes off.
noise.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is crackling. Pretty creepy. Just home invasion of them just walking in.
Mm-hmm.
And they throw Mandy and Red on the floor, stomp on Red's head and knock him out. And then they get their blood for blood, as the deal was. And then you just see that fat kid at the window. And out of the fog behind him, one of the Black Skulls just grabs him and pulls him back.
Yeah.
And it's just silent. And I've just loved the way I love that visual.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Like whatever happens. You know it's not good.
Yeah.
So then Black Skulls leave, and then it's the Children of the New Dawn just hanging out with Mandy and the one older woman and Sister Lucy, who's like young, are in the kitchen with Mandy, and then they drop liquid LSD into her eyeball and then pull out this really just giant black hornet that stings her in the neck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is
going on?
Yeah, it's like all wet in a jar.
Yeah.
It's super weird. Man, the LSD in the eye, I'm sure that's more than enough.
Yeah.
So they just get her.
Oh, maybe they had the hornet just soaking in LSD.
Oh, man.
And then when
That's
they took it
possible.
out, when it like stung her, just put more into her, but also with like the pain and whatever's in the venom.
Yeah. It's super weird.
Yeah, it's super weird.
And then it's everybody hanging out in their living room. And Jeremiah Sand introduces himself with his weird shoulder pad robe.
Yeah.
And he busts out this album that he puts on. And it's his album
Mm-hmm.
that he made. And it's super cheesy, hippie, psychedelic rock. All about him. Like, I don't know if you heard the lyrics or anything.
No, not really.
Talking about how Jeremiah was a righteous man and all this stuff. So he's trying to like really woo Mandy at this point. And this part is super messed up,
Mm-hmm.
psychedelic looking. Like, there's lots of trails following, like all the movements,
Yeah.
and everything's just kind of slowed down and the audio is distorted. He like pulls back the robe and he's just naked.
Yeah.
Just standing in front of her, talking about himself, like touching himself. And yeah, you like this album? Yeah, this is my album. And
One of my favorite parts in this scene is it'll be like a close up of Jeremiah's face, but then it'll just slowly start morphing into Mandy's face, like the images are like overlapped.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. And it would just kind of fade in, and you could tell, oh, that's Mandy's face, and then it would just fade back out.
But it was so subtle, you didn't really quite catch it at first.
You didn't catch it at first, no.
It was just be like the mouth, because her mouth was closed, and he was talking the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's just getting into all his weird culty stuff. And then she's like, so you made this album? Like, you made this song? And he's like, yes. And then she just starts laughing at him, and he gets mad, and he, like, I don't know if you noticed, but he tries rubbing one off.
Yeah.
Because he's all mad at her.
Yeah.
He's just like, ah! And he can't handle that rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Because he explained about, like, how he was wronged by the music world because he didn't get famous. So he just decided that he was gonna just commune with God, and God told him to just take whatever you want.
Yeah.
Sure. He wanted that adoration and found a way to get it. It's very Manson-like.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Because Charles Manson was very much into, I'm going to take these teenagers, I'm going to get them really wigged out on drugs, and just manipulate them to do my bidding. And that works for any cult, really.
Yeah.
And Charles Manson, also a failed musician.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the parallels there, but also just cults in general. Like, hey, yeah, I got it going on. I talk to God. God tells me all the good stuff. You want to just follow me? Yeah, so he can't handle that rejection. He's used to just everybody following his orders blindly and just being completely devoted to him. And he ends up like going to this mirror in their house, talking to himself, like asking for the answer over and over again. Like, what should I do?
Mm-hmm.
And this is one moment where the color is gone.
Yeah.
And it's just him freaking out in front of this mirror. And it comes off very crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely helps that they cut the colors back. Kind of gives you that grounded look at everything.
Mm-hmm. So you can just really understand, like, this dude is not playing with a full deck.
Mm-hmm.
Drugs or not.
Yeah.
So then we go to the outside where Red has been, like, tied up and gagged with barbed wire. And Jeremiah comes out there with Sister Lucy and talks about how awesome he is and decides to show him how devoted his cult members are to him.
Yeah.
And how much love they give him.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to show you what love really is. And he makes Sister Lucy play Russian roulette. And I like this part because Red's like, no. He's trying to say no. And he's like, don't do it.
Uh-huh.
And that just shows like he's compassionate.
He is, yeah. This person he's never known and is part of this crazy cult that has him tied up.
Yes.
He still doesn't want her to potentially shoot herself in the face. Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, obviously that's important, even later in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But, the gun doesn't go off. She doesn't kill herself. And then Brother Swan ends up bringing the tainted blade of the Pale Knight straight from the abyssal layer.
Yeah.
And this is another item that gets shown in the green strobe light. And it's just this weird dagger. And it looks super cool.
It looks really cool.
It looks like something straight out of D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of looked up both of these items. And man, you can go down a rabbit hole of where Abraxas comes from.
Oh God, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of stuff. There's somebody who made a whole article related to it because of this movie. And you can't even start to get into it.
No.
Dongles, go look it up. It's pretty easy to find. But even this, like, all this came up was some relation to like D&D.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and that's just a possible thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just love that name though.
Yeah.
So Red gets stabbed in the side like that, almost like a Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Jeremiah's talking about like how Jesus had it wrong. Because he didn't offer someone to be sacrificed in his place. And I was like, oh yeah, this dude is off his rocker.
Yeah.
Thinking he's even better than Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And then here comes like the uncomfortable part where they bring Mandy out in a sleeping bag and hang her up and set her on fire.
It's rough.
It is. We kind of had a little like chat during this point in the movie because, man, that's just hard.
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't skeezier than it is, because it's hard. But like being in the sleeping bag, like you don't have to
see
watch
her. Yeah.
Yes, and I feel like that would have been really hard, and it's hard enough to watch.
Yeah.
And probably one of the most, for me anyway, it's really uncomfortable because you know how much they love each other.
They did such a good job setting up. That's really why it is uncomfortable, which is great, which is amazing filmmaking.
Yes. Nicolas Cage does a really good job of expressing that just heartbreak.
Yeah.
Throughout this entire movie, really.
Yeah.
Any time after Mandy's just turned to ash, the cult leaves and then Red frees himself. And that's a hard watch too.
Yeah.
It just does not look comfortable to free yourself from being tied up with barbed wire. And then he goes over to the ashes and picks up her skull, and it just kind of like disintegrates. And he goes inside. You can tell he's just stunned.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what's going on.
He's in shock.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, shout out to Nicolas Cage's acting throughout this entire movie for sure. But I think in this scene, his full range kind of shines.
Yeah. And he comes in the house and he's just stunned. And it cuts to the TV. And it takes you right out of it in a good way.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you needed like some type of levity at this point. Because there's not a lot of it in this movie. And that's where you get the famous Cheddar Goblin commercial. It's just a goblin puppet puking up macaroni and cheese on kids. Yeah, they actually sold that stuff.
Yeah, it's so crazy that was a thing.
Yeah, they just recently stopped and they're like, better stock up because it's almost gone. I was like, do I buy a case of it? And I was like, no, probably not good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like the biggest fan of boxed macaroni and cheese, but I'm sure the more generic it gets, it's not as good. You got to get the name brand.
Yep.
Yeah, and clearly Cheddar Goblin is something that really took off with the fans of this movie because it's very memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't watch this movie or you haven't seen it or have no interest in seeing it, even though you should, at least look up the Cheddar Goblin.
Yeah, because that's weird.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Then Red has this animated nightmare, his first nightmare sequence of just an undead Mandy. And I like this because it's very reminiscent of like the heavy metal movie I know you haven't seen. Yeah, he ends up waking up, still grieving, and he decides to deal with his grief and let it all out. And he goes off the wagon by pulling out a bottle of vodka in the bathroom, screaming, crying, and the whole time drinking half of this massive bottle.
It's a lot of vodka.
I'm pretty sure that was real vodka, and they just let him go ham.
Method acting. He'd do it.
I bet you he did.
Yeah.
But he was like, nope, we're doing it. Man, he really cuts loose in this.
He does. Yeah.
This is another thing. People just look that up even.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
It is such a good scene. Yeah.
I guess it's a good time to just Nicolas Cage in general.
Yeah.
What a career this man has had.
I'm so happy to see where he is now.
Yes.
Because he's just in all these weird, kind of low budget horror movies, and he's just living it up.
Yeah, and I feel that people finally know what to do with him properly.
Yeah.
Because I'll say this, I feel like the real low points for him were those Ghost Rider movies.
Oh, God, yeah.
Where they were really just trying to, like, does he deserve to be, like, in movies and be a leading man in them? Sure. But he needs to be in the right ones. And that's not a good place for him because in some respects, he's not good at just normal stuff. He's better off in fringe things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like the National Treasure movies are okay.
They're all right. He does a fine job in those.
Yeah, it's very serviceable. I mean, Color Out of Space, we did that one. He's good in that.
Super good in that.
Doesn't really get as nuts as you think he would.
Yeah.
He's kind of reserved in that one. There's a new one that just came out. The name of it escapes me. It's like Prisoners of Ghostland or something. Man, I see everybody's talking about that one, so we might have to check that out, even just for funsies.
Yeah.
Because that one's pretty bonkers. And I guess like Willy's Wonderland, he doesn't really even talk in that. That's the one that's kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is just making those movies.
Because that movie's never getting made. Which is really disappointing because that is like prime material to make a good horror movie out of, but whatever.
It has potential.
It has 5 games that are all mostly good.
Yeah, and the general public is gonna go, well, we've already seen this before.
Yeah.
We like Nicolas Cage.
Mm-hmm.
I've liked him since Raising Arizona.
Oh, he's great in Raising Arizona. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. That's such a fun movie.
And that mullet and Con Air.
Never seen Con Air.
You've never seen Con Air.
I've never seen Con Air.
But you know what I'm talking about, though. You've seen that picture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Okay, well, we'll just move on. Now that he's had some rest and his freak out, he can focus, and he goes to see his friend Carruthers in this trailer. And Carruthers is played by Bill Duke. Did you recognize him
No.
from Predator?
Okay, now I recognize him.
So, this is 1983 when this movie takes place. And I'm just going to say this. Mandy and Predator are in the same universe. And this is just what he's doing before Predator. He's hiding out in the woods. Got some weapons stocked up. He's clearly ex-military.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what special agent for like the CIA or whatever dark operations they're doing in Predator.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like what he'd be doing in his free time.
Yeah. Okay. I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. But Red goes there. Shoot, I can't remember what he calls the crossbow. It definitely has a name.
It has a cool name, yeah.
Yeah. But he gets the crossbow and he gets like a couple special arrows from Carruthers that Carruthers says will like cut right through bone.
Like didn't you say like a fat kid through cake? Yeah, that was his analogy for it.
Yeah. And he just says that he's going hunting, and he never really tells Carruthers. Well, no, he does.
He does.
He does tell Carruthers like that they burned her, and
That they're Jesus freaks.
Yeah, a hippie cult.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy evil. And then he brings up the bikers, and Carruthers knows some stuff about them because he's heard some stories. It's almost like a campfire tale from before.
It kind of is, yeah.
And I'm just going to pull this clip and play it what Carruthers has to say because Lord knows I can't do it as good.
Look at man. For a while now, word's been coming down from the big rig, something dark and fearsome out there. No one knows where they come from. First, it was stories from the interstate, leaving truckers for dead, prostitutes vanishing, and gutted bodies on doorsteps, and always the same. Biker gang, black bikes, only seen at night. Weird shit. There's stories that there was a chapter that ran courier for a manufacturer of LSD. He took a disliking to them and cooked them up a special batch. And they have never been right in the head since. I seen them once from a distance. What you're hunting is rabid animals, and you should go in knowing that your odds ain't that good, and you will probably die.
Don't be negative.
Last I heard on the CB, they were spotted down near Spirit River. When I seen them things, they were in a world of pain. But you know what the freakiest part was?
What's that?
They fucking loved it.
Wow. What a crazy clip we listened to.
It does add to the mystique of the Black Skulls, though.
It does, yeah.
Very spooky.
Uh-huh.
And also find out that, that special batch of LSD they were given by somebody, and it just messed them up so bad that they're just crazy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good info dump. And then we get a little montage scene where Red makes the Beast, which is just this custom axe. And it's just like something right out of a fantasy novel.
It's so cool.
Yes.
Yeah, it's wicked.
Just the way they like have the lens flare off it and stuff, and you just know like...
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool. Also, like the metal it's made out of is like very shiny.
Yeah, it's just like chrome.
Yeah.
Chromed out.
Yeah. It's super cool.
And then we get the third and final chapter of Mandy, which that comes up in the sweet metal font that just grows.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was so cool.
And Red is now out for his revenge, and he goes after the Black Skulls first. Nothing like just getting the tough stuff out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're the biggest threat for sure.
They are definitely the biggest threat. And he takes out the first one with the guy with all the nails in him.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're like riding their bikes through the woods, and he just nails one with the crossbow, and he just falls off the bike. Then Red takes his truck and just drives into him, but hitting him flips the truck.
It was crazy. Yeah, you can tell that guy had some mass to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also pulled out the Black Skull guy, just pulled out a revolver and was just shooting at Red.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, it didn't kill him. Yeah.
Yeah, but since Red ended up flipping the truck, one of the Black Skulls comes back, and then he wakes up in some building. No idea what this building is.
No, yeah, it's very confusing.
It is very weird. Like, I don't know what the heck's going on in this place, but it just adds to just the
weirdness of the Black Skulls, yeah.
And just this movie in general.
Yeah,
like it's some just weird location. And he's handcuffed to a pipe and then has his left hand nailed to the floor. And this is like the female one. I'm assuming it's a female anyway, because it's really hard to tell with these.
We'll just refer to it as a female. But yeah, it is.
It was played by a woman. So.
Okay.
Also very wet and gurgly.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's another case of like where you think that they don't speak English.
Yeah.
Because I still don't, I mean, I could look it up, but I still don't know what she says to him.
Yeah.
And he just is like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then she cuts him and he gets mad because it's his favorite shirt. Which also, like, Mandy was wearing earlier in the movie, too.
Yeah.
He ends up breaking free because he can, like, twist that pipe off and ends up knocking that Black Skull down a shaft.
Which was just there. Yeah,
yes.
I didn't even see that before. Yeah.
He's free. The worst part about this, it's not even like pulling the nail out of the hand. It's the walking on that metal grate barefoot where I was like, ugh.
Yeah, yeah.
So then he like, what does he grab? Like some type of body armor?
Yeah.
Because that's just hanging out there or whatever. So he puts that on and he like ends up like walking through this building, which then is kind of like a house.
Yep.
There's just like
a kitchen.
He passes through them and like there's a couple bodies in there, which it did not look like anything good happened to that man.
Mm-hmm. No.
We'll just skip over any of that. You'll see it for yourself if you watch the movie.
Yeah.
Then there's like this weird, gross kitchen area. It's just stuff everywhere. And it's just gross and disgusting. And then there's a Black Skull sitting on a couch watching a porno flick. That's the one that's on the loop.
Mm-hmm.
And man, this is quite the fight.
It is a really cool fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's definitely a struggle.
It's grounded in the sense that it isn't like super fast paced. Like they get like hit and they kind of like stagger a bit and then they go back at it and then it is crazy.
Yeah. And this Black Skull definitely has a wiener knife.
Mm-hmm.
And also had just snorted like a bunch of cocaine.
Yep.
So they get it into this fight and it's kind of like not clear. I'm pretty sure he breaks off the knife wiener.
I didn't catch it, but maybe he does.
Really, I think that's what happens, and then stabs it in the throat of the Black Skull and just gets blood all over his
Coated.
face and in his mouth.
Yeah.
It felt very Evil Dead.
It did, yeah. No, that's the first thing I thought when I saw that.
So very tired Red at this point.
Yeah.
Gets up, looks at himself in a piece of like broken mirror, decides to snort a bunch of cocaine.
A bunch of cocaine.
An insane amount of cocaine.
Yeah.
He's lost his damn mind.
Yeah.
And we can't blame him. Then he just starts rummaging through the kitchen, finds the crossbow, and also they had the beast on display, like
Yeah.
up on the, like this.
They're total
ledge or
fans
whatever.
of it.
How could you not be?
Yeah.
The fact that they are even like, well, this deserves a special place
Yeah.
in our hangout. And then he's just kind of like going around and he finds the jar of goo, the LSD goo, and he smells it. Why he even opens it up in the first place? It all feels just very just because
Yeah.
they wanted him to do it.
Pretty much.
And he just dips his finger ever so slightly into it and dabs it on his tongue and then is instantly transported. There's a thing of like his face melting.
Uh-huh.
There's like all this cosmic stars and everything. And he has a vision of a radio tower. That's where he needs to go. Which is kind of weird.
It is weird.
It is weird that he gets a vision like that. But
Yeah.
movie.
I
mean,
A weird movie at that.
we can't. I feel like even as much as I nitpick things sometimes, like I can't. Like whatever. It's his journey.
Yeah.
It keeps the story going. Otherwise, like how else is he gonna figure out where to go? But before he ends up leaving, we have the fourth Black Skull just hanging out next to a burning car, and Rudd shoots an arrow right through its neck.
Yeah.
And it's just standing there and it just pulls it out the front.
Yeah.
And blood's just like spurting out and it's gurgling. Then it just seemed unfazed by
Yeah.
it.
It didn't even move when it was shot.
And then Red just goes after it with the beast. And they get into a scuffle, which results in, because the Black Skull's telling Red she burns.
Mm-hmm.
Or she still burns.
Yeah.
And that just sets Red off.
Yeah.
And Red gets that Black Skull to get set on fire with the burning car.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a flaming dude.
Yep.
Love me a good flaming dude, as we all know. And also just decapitates the Black Skull with the beast, which is super cool.
Oh, yeah.
Extra bonus,
Totally.
decapitation while on fire.
Any sort of added thing is very welcome. You can have a flaming dude. You gotta do something fun with the flaming dude.
Sometimes you jump out of a prison building and land into a bus, and that bus explodes.
Mm-hmm. That one is crazy.
Yeah.
That is one of the best flaming dudes.
Oh yeah, Maniac Cop 2.
Yep.
Chef's kiss. So now that all the Black Skulls have been defeated, Red finds like a half-smoked cigarette on the ground and decides to light it off the head, the burning head. Red drives off and finds the radio tower. That's where the chemist is. That's the guy who made the LSD, because he's in there doing that. And he just has a tiger in a cage hanging out with him. And Red just walks in, does not say a word during this whole part.
Mm-hmm.
And the chemist just knows what's happened. And at one point he's like, yeah, you're right. And he just lets the tiger go.
Oh.
Frees the tiger. And then through more of him just staring at Red, he's like, oh man, they wronged you. Tells Red that he has to head north. And man, this guy that plays the chemist, he played Joe Chill in Batman Begins.
Weird.
And also, so the guy who plays Jeremiah, he played Thomas Wayne.
Oh, what?
In Batman Begins. There's a lot of like weird movies that these actors like crisscross in. Because if you like start getting into their history, because they all have like a lot of gigs. I mean, there's only a couple of them who've maybe been in this. The one kid they sacrifice, and Mullet Kid, he's not in a whole lot. Some of them aren't really in a lot of stuff, but all the Black Skulls are basically either just in this or stuntmen.
Yeah.
A lot of these character actors are in a lot of stuff, and some of it crosses over.
Weird. That's so weird.
I mean, all good acting in this, really.
Phenomenal.
I think like everybody does a fantastic job.
Yes.
This chemist guy was also in Bingo Hell, which just came out. Not a good movie, but man, he's so good in it.
Mm-hmm.
I just like him as an actor.
He did a really good job.
Yeah. Doesn't have a lot to do in this one, but I've seen him in other stuff, and he's always just that gangly, good, evil character actor. Anyway, yeah, then we get like the tiger just out in the wild, roaring.
Yeah.
Red goes on his descent into hell, basically, as he like rides down like a crazy tube
Looks
and
fun.
all this stuff, and everything's just like red, and like it feels like he's going down deeper.
Yeah.
Even though they're still just same kind of location, still just in the wilderness. After that, four-wheeler kind of gets stuck, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And he just ends up getting some rest and has another dream. But instead of being nightmarish, this one's a lot better. It's just a big tiger man, and Mandy's just pulls a green orb out of it. It's very weird.
It's very weird. Yeah.
Because when he wakes up, it seems a lot more just back to less color to it at that point. He's just slept off the drugs.
Yeah, he's sobered up for sure.
Yeah. So maybe that's what that means. It's him being cleansed.
That's a good theory.
Because all the green things tend to be evil, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to put rhyme or reason.
But he finds their church. And it's down...
Weird
Like
quarry.
a quarry, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's this just triangular building down there, and he sees the van drive off. And then that's where he lays down like some spike strips and takes out the van. And it's just Brother Swan and Sister Lucy in the van. And he takes Brother Swan out, and Brother Swan tries talking some crap to him.
Yeah, some hot garbage.
Yep.
Wrong idea.
Called garbage to him.
Yeah.
And Red has none of that and sticks the pointy end of the beast right into his mouth.
It was a very cool death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pins him to the tree, and he's just gurgling up blood everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Sister Lucy's watching. Just has like the single tear come down, and Red just walks away.
Yeah, doesn't do anything to her.
Doesn't do anything to her. So she gets off pretty easy.
Yeah.
He could have easily done it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I think he just views her as an innocent who's been manipulated.
Totally. Yeah, there's still hope for her to get out and hopefully be somebody.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, that tear has some significance later, too. Now we get Mullet Kid washing the station wagon. And you just get like a cool silhouette of the beast flying through the air, sticking right in his head and just blood gushing all over the place. So Mullet Kid's out.
That one was pretty quick.
That one was quick. And then Red comes up to the church. There's a bunch of logging stuff, and he's like, oh, a chainsaw. So he puts the beast down, picks up the chainsaw, tries starting it, and then the cult's a big muscle guy. We didn't really talk about him earlier.
He's not very prominent.
No. He's just kind of always there.
Yeah.
To be here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
This dude's a monster.
Yeah, he's big.
Oh my god. He is huge. And so Red busts out that chainsaw, trying to get it started, and then the big cult guy just pulls out one of those big, long logging chainsaws.
It's
like
huge.
4 feet long or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, very much an homage to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, or any other movie with a chainsaw fight. This one's going up there.
This is actually the only chainsaw fight I think I've seen, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, you haven't watched any Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
I haven't, no.
There's a couple I think you'd dig.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if it's something I'd necessarily want to cover on here, but we can always just check them out sometime. At least the first two, I think, are definitely...
That's usually how it goes with horror series.
They're completely different in tone. Definitely worth watching. Anyway, awesome chainsaw fight here. Red's clearly outmatched. And they both end up being disarmed, I think, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure which one. I think it's the big one, chainsaw, that's still running on the ground.
Yeah, it is.
And Red just picks up this big burly chain and swings it around his head and wraps it around that dude's neck and just uses all his body weight to pull himself down, pulling the big guy on top of the chainsaw, where you just get this overhead view of him squiggling and just blood just
so much
everywhere.
Blood. Yeah.
I'm surprised that this movie doesn't go there with some of the gore. Like really just kind of showing more. But I do appreciate how it is kind of just him squiggling and blood. Like, do we need to see him cut in half? It would be nice in a revenge sense,
Yeah.
but also just, I don't know, I guess it isn't always necessary.
No, not always. It's welcome. There's still gore to be had.
This movie's not light on gore.
Yeah.
There's plenty of blood. Now with the big guy out of the way, Red enters the church, which looks super cool. I wish it wasn't so churchy because, man, that building looks awesome. The way that everything is, like all the trusses and just a repetitive pattern going back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just lit with red.
Of course.
Yeah. But it has like the big cross opening on the front and the back.
Uh-huh.
So it's a pretty cool looking building.
Yeah.
This movie, just from a visual standpoint. The altar is, I don't know if you noticed that, is a tree.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just this tree stump. Behind there's a hatch, and Red goes down there, and then he's going further down into the depths.
Yep.
And he's going through, like, walking through a metal tunnel, and you're going someplace weird.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up running into that Mother Marlene, who tries tempting him, talking about how she's a very good lover and all this and that. And what are you doing? The way that it starts to get more and more pathetic,
Yeah.
sometimes, where they try to manipulate him. How do you think that if after you've done all this to somebody, that they're just going to be on board with you?
Mm-hmm.
That's not happening. He wants none of that. And then it cuts to Jeremiah, and I don't know what he's in. It's more of the weird locations of this movie, just a concrete tube.
Yeah.
Feeling up the walls in his underwear. He's like, stop where you are. And then you just see the Mother Marlene's head get tossed in there. Once he notices what's at his feet, he just starts freaking out. He's like, ah! Like kicks it. And I like how it's just this pulse of light in this room.
Yeah.
Where it just turns on and off. And it'll switch between Jeremiah and Red as Red's approaching him. And Jeremiah is just talking about how there's still time for Red to have his redemption and that he'll be forgiven and all this. And it's like, dude.
Again, it's like you were saying earlier. It's just that pleading, trying anything.
Mm-hmm. Like he just thinks he can just manipulate anybody.
Yeah.
And again, you can't convince this man.
No, not at all.
Red just grabs him by the head, has him kneel before him, and he's just holding his head. And this is where Jeremiah starts showing his true colors.
Uh-huh.
And just panics and starts begging for his own life. Offers to suck him off even, which is just so pathetic. It's like
so low.
It is just the most pathetic.
Yeah.
But then he just switches and he's just, no, screw you. You are in no position at this point.
Yeah.
And I love how Red just starts squeezing his head.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like that weird, distorted voice. And he's, I'm your god now.
Yeah.
And just pops his head. And it's just almost, it's very orgasmic. Like he's just released. Like, oh, he did it.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Got his revenge.
And then just sets the place on fire and leaves. The whole church is burning down. And he just hops in that station wagon and drives off into the woods. And as he's driving off, he starts having visions of Mandy sitting next to him. And he's just not all covered in gore or anything. And she's just like smiling and it's back and forth. And then he is remembering when they first met, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And they're at like a show or something. And he's smoking a cig and he happens to look up and he sees her. And she's just looking at him and has the single tear.
Mm-hmm.
And then it is just him all bloody and gory, like staring at the seat at nothing.
Yeah.
And I like the one part though where it's like he's just staring and then it cuts back and then he's got the big grin on his face.
Yeah.
He's all happy.
Yeah.
And then it's just him staring forward. And then it's just headlights. You see headlights in the woods and it pans up and everything is just this alien landscape.
Yeah.
With the two natural satellites above it or planets or
whatever.
Man, there's so much planet stuff in this.
Yeah.
Is he on Jupiter? Is he the big red spot, the storm?
Oh.
That she mentioned earlier?
Oh. Doesn't matter because the movie ends.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like the black skulls in this, but I did tell you when we were watching it that I'm pretty sure that the black skulls, only because they kind of reminded me of them, that they got way more screen time than the Knights of Ren.
Yep. Yeah.
And it had more to do.
And they're cooler and stronger.
More personalities.
Yeah.
Like for a bunch of, like you can just have, I don't know, blank slates, just be terrible things, make it cool, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd just like to say that this movie is bonkers. It's also really good. So, I'm a guy that really likes films. And when I say films, I mean like films. It hit like a sweet spot because I love a movie that'll spend 5 minutes on just a long shot. It could be like almost nothing, but setting the atmosphere and the mood. And I'm also a big fan of just the filmmaking techniques that were used in this movie to not use like many words or just rely on simple lines of dialogue to portray such a cool and crazy journey that Red really goes on. So that's just my little segment where I'd like to praise this movie a lot.
Excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really am. Just because I just love this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are harsh on it because something this stylized is not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people say, well, you know, it's putting like style over substance. And I disagree on that.
Yeah.
I think that anybody could have told this story, the same exact story.
Yeah.
It wouldn't stick with you quite the same way.
The style is what makes it what it is and is what makes it so good. And it isn't so much that it's just style, because style implies that it's just an appearance and there's not anything more to it.
Yeah, and that's what I mean though. Like I still think there is substance to it. Like it works with both.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people just tend to not like anything this artsy because it is artsy.
Yeah.
It is like by all means just a trashy, sleazy, just grindhouse movie that was done artistically.
Yeah.
It's
literally
just a gritty revenge flick, but with a lot of heart. Visual pizzazz.
Yeah.
I mean, this could easily be like an 80-minute movie.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
If not shorter.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't feel like fluff to me. Like all that, like just, there's a lot of intent behind everything.
Totally. Yeah.
And a lot of visual things and...
Yeah. For being so, in a way, drawn out with like its scenes and everything like that, it still kept my interest the entire time. I was actively watching it and interested the entire time, which is hard for short movies filled with action these days.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that are just mindless, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has its place.
Yeah.
And this definitely just, it's up there for me as far as movies I've even seen recently that just have really knocked my socks off.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that there are more movies taking this kind of route now, that you can have a horror movie or whatever that is more artistic.
Yeah.
Because a long time ago, some of them kind of were, and that had just kind of got lost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to see things like this coming back, and I really like this, and I can't wait to see what this director does next.
Totally. Yeah. I'd be interested to see anything that he makes next, too.
Because I think it's just this and Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Huh.
Would this convince you to watch that more?
More. I heard it's a bit more crazy.
It is. It's a lot. It's more long shots and just things not happening than this.
Mm-hmm.
That one you could probably even that's maybe 20 minutes of story.
Oh, God.
All right, cool. So how you say movie? Your rating?
I'd say this is a film.
And clearly you recommend it.
Yes. Oh, yes.
You know, I wrote down enthusiastic movie, but you're right. This is a film.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
change it up a little bit. I didn't do that. Okay. Addendum. Should have done that for Stalker, now that I'm thinking about it. Because I feel that way about Stalker, too.
I did that with Stalker.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Yeah.
You might have, too.
Maybe I did.
That was like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to remember? I don't want to go on another tangent about how much I like this. Just Dongles, if you haven't seen it, which I highly doubt for our listener base, if you haven't seen it, check it out. I'm sure that even if you're a person who may go, well, it sounds like it's going to be boring and artsy, still check it out at least once.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 2 hours of your life
Yeah.
that you may not get back, but you know what? You filled it with Mandy.
Mm-hmm.
And I get why this movie has such a following to it.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many things online about it, merchandise, and it's really just has its own
That's good.
class of people who are into this. And that makes me happy.
Yeah, that's always nice to see.
Uh-huh. I would love to do like some red cosplay.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can buy them shirts. His tiger shirt.
You just got to get the beast. That's the coolest part.
I know a guy who made one out of like wood. I think he carved it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. RJ McCready from Bite Size Cinema.
Oh. Huh. I didn't know he did that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's like just makes his own little props. It's pretty cool. Also, Bite Size Cinema. This is a pretty cool podcast. It's very short. Gets to the point. I like it.
Hence, bite-sized.
I also did the art for his logo thing, so glad to see he's still using it. But anyway, I don't really have anything else I'd want to add that's not going to make this like 5 hours long.
Pretty much. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Okay, cool. Visit our TeePublic store.
Get some shirts.
We got stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We got some cool stuff on there. Help us pay for the podcast. $2 at a time. Maybe even 50 cents.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's all good. Contact us by sending us an email. You can reach us at corruptedyouthpod
at
gmail.com. Come hang out in the Dongle Den. See some memes. It's on Facebook.
It's great.
There'll be a link in the show notes. Private group.
It's a private group that we let anyone into.
Pretty much. So yeah, thanks to our listeners, the Dongles, and our fellow podcasters. Thank you for your support.
Mm-hmm.
And hang in there, Dongles.
Bye.
Corrupted youth! Corrupted youth! Corrupted youth! Corrupted youth!
I'm going to take these teenagers, I'm going to get them really wigged out on Corrupted Youth Podcast and just manipulate them to do my bidding.